Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakathah. Welcome to another class of Israel Evolved. And today's topic is going to be God forbid. Because all throughout in the streets, in the churches, on the social media, it's like always argument about the scriptures and who the Most High is the power of, who the Messiah is the power of, or who the Messiah is coming to save. You know, who's going to get the kingdom, or who's, there's so many questions out there by so many individuals in reference to these things. We're going to go through the scriptures and we're going to see why we say God forbid. He did not forbid his people. He never changed from Genesis to Revelation. He never changed what he was doing and who he was doing it for. That never changed. So with that, let's go to the book of, let's start off in the book of Malachi. Let's go to the book of Malachi and let me get, let's get, chapter 3 and verse 6. So the book of Malachi, chapter 3 and verse 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So when the Lord said that I am the Lord, I change not, meaning that what he said from Genesis, what the prophets taught us, all the way to what he's saying in Revelation, didn't change. It's the same. Everything is the same. When he said that, therefore ye sons of Jacob, that means that all 12 of his sons, every tribe that came from his 12 sons, so that they are not consumed, meaning that they don't get confused. It's man that get confused or that teach doctrine to confuse other men. The only way you're going to learn the scriptures is, one, keeping the commandments. That's the only way you're going to learn. There's no man on earth can teach you just verbatim like you would teach anyone in a school, and you just regurgitate the information that you hear somebody else say. If you don't keep the commandments of the Most High, you're not going to understand what the Bible's saying. You're going to always have a thought process that's based on what you believe to be rational. The Most High never did that. He conceded to everything that he possibly could do to suffice for Israel. And we have yet, to this day, done anything to suffice for the Lord. The Lord was our king in the very beginning. He was the king of all of us. But no, our ancestors, they wanted a king like all the other nations. So the Most High said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to give you a king. I'm going to give you a king, and you're going to pay tribute to the king. Just like all the other nations have to pay tribute to their kings. And the king going to rule over you. So I'm going to give you what you're asking for. We wasn't happy with the Most High. And you know what all that boils down to? To the fact that we as a people, we don't want authority. We don't want the Most High to rule over us. We wanted to do like what other nations and figure that we could just do whatever it is that we wanted to do and get away with whatever it is that we were doing. And it'd be no backlash. But we were sadly mistaken. That's not the truth. So, today, all those that's in Christianity, that's following the traditions of Christianity, you're going to find out today that the Most High is only dealing with the Israelites by the house of their fathers. Whatever your father is, that's what you are. And if you are not of Negro descent, if you're not of the Native Americans or natives throughout the Western Hemisphere, and those remnants of Israelites that are Negro descent that spread out all across the four corners of the earth, you're not an Israelite. You all going to fall in line to the Most High law, statutes, and commandments. That's what the 144,000 are going to do. They're going to teach the nations. If the Most High, if Christ was coming back for everybody, it'd be no need whatsoever for there to be a differentiation between heathens and Israelites, Gentiles and Israelites. No matter how many times the brothers go over and show you in 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, the split of Israel and what happened to those Israelites in the 10 tribes that the Most High made not a people. They became Gentiles. Not Gentile through bloodline, Gentile because of the actions that they were doing. They were doing the same thing that the heathen nations were doing, was why they were called Gentiles. That's the reason why they had to be adopted back into the covenant. But you people out there, there's a lot of you that love, when I say they love the other nations, so much so till you don't even realize that in order for you to even deal with other nations, you got to deal with your own nation first. I'm not telling you got to go out there and just hate other nations. You don't got to do that. But you got to teach your nation the truth, as it is written. So, the Most High said in Malachi chapter 3, verse 6, "For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed." So meaning that you don't go off thinking your own thing. That's the whole point. Now, let's go to Genesis chapter 25. Matter of fact, I don't even need to do that right now. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. We got to stop playing games, and just let the words come off the page. And listen, whether you forbear or you hear it, it say what it say. You just got to deal with it. Bottom line, the scriptures is not made for everybody to be happy. This is not the book for all nations. It's the book of the history of the Israelites, period. So Deuteronomy chapter 32, and let's get verse 39. "See now that I am he, and there is no God with me." See, now if you're reading along with me in your Bible, in verse 39, when the scripture says, "See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me," you see that God is in lowercase letters. That means that if it's a capital letter, it's talking about the Most High. If it's in a lowercase letter, it's talking about like Ra or Seti or these cats. All the other nations have their own gods that they believe in. All the other nations have their own gods that they bring sacrifices to. The Most High said he, not them. He is the Most High that created the heavens and the earth. Doesn't mean that these individuals that these people pray to or whatever the case may be, in their minds, they believe in it. So be it. They believe in it. But the Most High is the God of all gods. It'd be no thought process for them to even believe in a God if they were not here on the earth, because he created them. And because he created them, they created the gods that they believe in. Nobody created the Most High. So verse 39 again. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Basically what the Lord is saying, once he take hold of you, there is nothing that anybody, any nation on this earth or his mansions that's outside of this earth can save you from him. That's the reason why we fear the Lord, because of his judgments. Not because somebody told us to do it, it's because of his judgments. Let's go to Psalms chapter 111. Go to the book of Psalms. Scratch that. Psalms 119. Let's go to Psalms 119. I want you to go to verse 120. The book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 20. My flesh trembleth for fear of thee, and I am afraid of thy judgments. That's the reason why we fear the Most High. Because see, the Most High can make a whirlwind come from the heavens and it be on the ground for no more than 30 seconds. Less than that sometimes. And destroy, miles of property. Destroy miles of property in 30 seconds. The Most High could do that. He could do whatever it is that he want to do. As nobody or nothing can stop him. Period. So back to Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 29 again. Verse 39 again. The Most High says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Nobody can. So let's go to now the book of Matthew. Because a lot of people think that we're dealing with an unjust God because he chose a people. The Most High can do whatever it is that he want to do. And you Israelites are the main ones that's running around out here that's talking about the other nations. Other nations ain't running around out here talking about your behind and saving you. Where were the other nations at when our behinds was in slavery? Did you see the Chinese man or the Japanese man? The Vietnamese man? The white man? Arabs? Did you see them coming to our aid? What armies? Did you see them coming to save us from what was happening to us? Did you see them doing that? But yet you want to save them. The very same people that destroyed you as a nation to the point where you don't even know your name, your surname. You don't know your heritage. Everything about your entire existence has been lost because they purposely destroyed your history. But yet these are the same people that you want to love and hug up and want them to have the same things you get. But they don't want you to have the things that they got. They didn't want you to have the things they got then, and they don't want you to have the things they got now. So the book of Matthew, chapter 15, and I want verse 21. Then Yahushua went thence, and departed into the coast of Tyre and Zidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast, and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me. So Christ is walking with his disciples, and they came across the coast of Tyre and Zidon, right? And they came in contact with this Canaanite, this woman that was in Canaan, who was a fair Phoenician. So fair Phoenicians go back to the Greeks. She's a Edomite. That's who she came onto. That's who Christ came onto. And then let's see what this exchange was. And cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word. Why do you think Christ never had a conversation with this woman when this woman was coming to him begging for help? Because she wasn't his people. And we're going to find that out as we read through the scriptures. She knew who he was. He knew who she was. That's obvious in the scriptures. Verse 23, but he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So Christ told his disciples, who were also Israelites, that he wasn't sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So let's explain the lost sheep of the house of Israel. See, during the split of the 12 tribes, you had the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. All those generations coming up from the time of the split during Rehoboam's reign, all the way up to the time of Christ. Man, you're talking about when you go to the book of Matthew and hold what you got in 15, go to chapter 1. We're going to see how many years we talking about. That's from the time of Rehoboam up until the time of the Messiah. So right here in verse, let's go to Matthew chapter 1. Let's go to verse 17. So in verse 17 of Matthew chapter 1 says, so all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. So from Abraham, our forefather, to King David was 14 generations. Now, so all generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. And from David until the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations. So now, from the time that we went from the King David's time to the time that we went into the Babylonian rule, that was right before the Greek, was another 14 generations. Another 14 generations. So now we had 28 generations. You know how many years 28 generations is? That is a lot for you to even compute in your mind right now. 28 generations. And then it don't stop there. And then it says, and from the carrying away the Babylon onto Christ are 14 generations. So that's 14 generations times 3. Okay, that's 14 generations times 3. That's over a millennium of years. So here it is that we've been taken away from our heritage. Slavery happened roughly around 1619. Okay? And from the time of the first slave ship coming to these shores, our people still spoke their language. Our people still believed in their God. Our people still had their heritage, their traditions that they kept. We still had that. But over a course of time, which wasn't even 400 years completely, it was like 360 some odd years, we completely forgot the language we spoke, our God that we serve, the traditions that we kept. All of that was gone, and our surname was completely gone. So what you think happened over thousands of years of Israelites that have not been practicing or keeping the commandments from generation to generation to generations for 14 generations times 3? So when it says right here in verse 15, in chapter 15, Matthew's chapter 15, let's go back to it. And verse 24, when he said, "But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep." The lost sheep are the individuals that no longer knew the laws, the statutes, commandments that the Most High gave us. They were living as Gentiles so long that they believed that they were the Gentiles. They knew that they were the Israelites. They knew that where their bloodline came, but all the things, everything else, they completely never was taught that. So that's why he was only dealing with the cities throughout Greece. Because after the Babylonian Empire, that's who conquered the Babylonians, Greece. So they already had us. We never really came out of their captivity. Then when Greece took over, they inherited us as well. And then the Greeks imposed much sanctions on us. So much so we couldn't even profess the fact that we were Jews, that we were Israelites, that we couldn't circumcise our children, we couldn't keep the feast days, we couldn't. They didn't even want us to even eat the unclean foods. They try to make us eat unclean foods and sacrifice onto the devils that they believe in. So now, let's stay on the topic. In verse 24, when he said, "But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So that's what the Lord is telling the disciples, because this woman kept begging for his help. Verse 25, "Then came she and worship him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread." The children are the Israelites. And what he's saying, the power that I have for them is not meet, meaning it's not just. It's not just for me to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Dogs is another name for heathen, the other nations. He said, why am I going to take the power that I have that's reserved for them and then help you with it, who is of another nation? So let's keep getting it. Verse 27. "And she said, Truth." So she's acknowledging what the Messiah is saying. So she says, "Truth, Lord, yet dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from the master's table." So she's not even just talking about the fact that Christ is the master. She's referencing all the Israelites. She realized she knows who they are. She knows who we are. She's referencing the fact that she knows that she's a heathen of the other nation. She knows we the people of God, but yet aren't they worthy of the crumbs which fall from our tables? Verse 28. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. So the Most High, Christ, then helped the woman. So Christianity, and in Christianity, they take that right there with him helping her and say, oh, he could do that for all nations on the earth. No, that's not what happened. See, where you Israelites that believe that the Messiah is coming for all nations and coming to help all nations, you that believe that, what you don't realize is when the Most High said that I have mercy on who I have mercy on, when he said that I make alive, I kill and I make alive, he can do whatever it is that he want to do. But his promise is to us. That's a promise. That's a promise that the Most High never broke. We broke our promise to the Lord. Because so you remember back in Leviticus, we told the Lord everything that he said we will do. We didn't keep our part of the promise, but he kept his, even to this day. Even to this very day we live in right now, he kept his promise to us. So here, when he said, in verse 27, and she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from the master's table. And nowhere that scripture means that every nation can be saved. Because every nation ain't in the predicament we are in. This woman came because her daughter was vexed with a devil. She didn't come because her daughter was vexed with poverty, that her daughter was vexed with the mistreatment, the being shot down in the streets, other nations coming against them. She didn't come with that. Her daughter was crazy. And Christ did what he did and made the chick whole. And kept on going about his business. But yet, the same people that bring up these arguments talking about he came for everybody, they forget about scriptures like in Matthew 18. Let's go to Matthew 18 real quick. So in the book of Matthew, chapter 18, and let's read verse, let's start at verse 15. So this is talking about you have a brother, and that brother that you trying to bring sense to him, he's not trying to hear what you're saying. Let's hear what Christ said. So the book of Matthew chapter 18 verse 15, and he said, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, meaning your brother do you wrong, right? Your brother do you wrong. And tell him his faults between thee and him alone. So the Most High is saying, if your brother do you wrong, you and your brother deal with it alone. It don't need to be out in the open to the churches, to the people, to your friends, or whatever the case may be. You deal with that between you and him. But let's listen to everything that Christ said. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. So he's saying if he listens to what you're saying and understands what you're saying, and he'd be like, oh, you know what? You right, brother. You right. He said, then you gain a brother. But, the word but erased everything that I just read in verse 15. That's what Christ said, but if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more. So now Christ is saying, If he don't hear what you're saying, then you get one or two more people that are of your brethren, and you explain the same thing as you explained to him one-on-one. Now you do the same thing with these two or three people, along with himself. The same thing. So listen up. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of two or three witnesses every word may be established. Meaning that every single word will be understood between all the parties involved. So the two or three witnesses understand what's being conveyed. The individual that's bringing the fault to the brother is understood of what he's saying. And then the brother that's listening to this, now you got 3 to 4 people that understand the same exact thing that's going out to this brother that they're trying to bring forth the fault or whatever he did or she. That's what when it said the word may be established. Everybody is in understanding of what the brother that's trying to bring forth the fault is saying. Verse 17, and if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. So now this brother don't want to hear nothing that these 3 to 4 individuals are saying. So now they say bring it to the church. So now they're talking about the whole body. So now you bring the same instances to the whole body of the church, and you tell him that thing in front of them. Okay? Now they all being established the word. So now everybody understands everything that's being done, everything that's being said, rather. So now it says, but if he neglects to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. A heathen man is a non-Israelite people. People that's not Israelite, another nation. Okay? And then a publican is a Roman tax collector. See, now us as a people, we couldn't stand the Roman tax collectors because we were paying tribute to another nation. Christ said that we will not be truly free until other nations paying tribute to us, like they were during the time of King David and King Solomon. So tribute is taxes. So Christ said, you treat this brother as if he was another nation or a tax collector that's coming to collect the taxes for Rome. That's what he said, how you treat this man. So if Christ was here for everybody and here to save everybody, then why in the world would he say, treat this man like a heathen or a publican? If he was here for everybody, then it wouldn't have mattered. How can you determine who's a heathen or a publican if everybody's the same? Because it's a lie. Everybody ain't the same. And the Most High did not cast away his people. And like we read earlier in Malachi chapter 3, verse 6, that he don't change. He changed not. So let's go to back to the book of Malachi. And let's get chapter 1. And I'm going to start at verse 1. The book of Malachi, chapter 1 and verse 1. The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, said the Lord. So now the Malachi and the Lord is having a conversation. And the Lord is telling Malachi that I love you. Meaning he, not just Malachi, he's saying he loved Israel. Because that's who Malachi is speaking to, all 12 tribes. So the Lord said, I have loved you, said the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein it hast thou loved us? So he's saying, the Lord is saying to Malachi, I love you, the Israelites. But you're saying to me, where is it that you loved us? Because he's basing that on all the drama that's happening to our nation, all the captivities that we going in, our kingdom falling, everything being smashed, we being trodden down by our enemies left and right. So being that these things is happening is why he's saying, where in it that you love us? But let's listen what the Lord say. Verse 2 again. I have loved you, said the Lord. Yet ye say, where in it hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Said the Lord. Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Wherein Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said the Lord of hosts. They shall build, but I will throw down. So now we see again, when the Lord said he loved Jacob, which is the 12 tribes, he hated Esau, which is Edom, what we call today Caucasians. He said that he hated them, right? Now he's telling you that he's going to put their heritage to waste for the dragons of the wilderness. He said, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished. But see, this is the time before the Renaissance period. This is the time when they were those nomadic tribes that when you want to really watch some history or learn some history, go watch movies like the Eagle, the Lost Eagle of the Roman Legion, or the 10th Legion, or the 13th Legion of the Roman conquest. Any of those movies will show you how all, like the Gauls, which are today the French, Britannians, which is today are the people of Britain, the Germanians, all of those nomadic tribes came together. They came together as one people. That was the whole point of what they were trying to do, what Edom was trying to do. Bring all its people together as one, to fight as one. They were able to accomplish that. Now, when they said that they were impoverished, meaning they were in a poor state of mind and a way of life, but we will return, meaning that they will return from this poor state back to glory, to what they call glory, and return and build the desolate places, thus said the Lord of hosts. So they did that when when the Renaissance period came. And from that point that they did that in 1453, all the way up to today, they've been ruling on the earth. That's why the Lord said in Genesis 25 that everywhere the dew fall, they will rule. That's true to this day. So then the Lord says, but I will throw down. That's coming. And they shall call them the border of wickedness. So, if the Most High is telling you, he created the heavens and the earth. He created all the people on the earth, including the Israelites. He's telling you that they are the wickedness, the border of wickedness, meaning the beginning of wickedness. From them, everybody else become wicked. From their ways, every other nation becomes wicked, just like them. So they're the border, meaning the beginning of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever, meaning hatred for them forever. So the Most High is telling you that these people are the border of wickedness. Then why is it so hard for you to understand that no matter what you do, no matter how much you try to be friends or whatever the case may be, you are never going to change them as a people. You may have an individual or two or three, maybe 10 that you actually get along with, that you may be buddies with. But those people are not going to convince the whole nation of their people to be like them. And when they come up against their own people, what's going to happen is your 10 or 1 or 2 or 3 friends that you have, they're going to turn on you. Because I guarantee you, they're not going to get in the way of when they people coming for your behind. You don't see other nations out there marching around talking about Black Lives Matter. If everybody was for us, there'd be no need for us to be out there talking about Black Lives Matter. You don't see white policemen down here shooting their own people down in the street, unarmed, all over the place, all the time. You don't see the injustice in the Justice Department and the justice inside of these courts, where individuals that commit the same crime, this man get probation, this man get 15, 20 life in prison. This man is Edom, this man is Jake. Jake getting 20 to life and Edom getting probation. The same people that you're talking about is for you and that you're so happy and want to be joyful for, then why in the world do we have a Voters' Right Act? If you for us and you also, speaking of the American people, is for the Negro. If that be the case, then why isn't the right to vote a law? A law. Not something that got to be voted on every 25 years for the right for Negroes to go vote for a character that never is going to do anything to make life better for you in the first place. If what they say and you believe is such a just thing, then it should be the same across the board. But that ain't the case. And no matter how many signs go out there to show you that these people hate your guts, you will not get it. And you're going to be thrust through. Bottom line. So now let's see what the Lord say. Again, another reference from the Most High. Let's see what the Lord say about these other nations that you so loving. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. And let's get chapter 40. Now I'm going to read it slow because I want to make sure you hear it good. The book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. So let me explain what a balance is. It's a device that weighs. Whether you put certain weight on one side, and you put whatever it is that you're selling or buying on the other side, and it tells you what it weighs. So when the balance is even, that means that what you have on this side is even on this side. It's not up or down. So the Lord said that the nations are as a drop of a bucket. So if I was carrying a bucket of water and one drop fall on the ground, I'm not going to have a hissy fit because that drop of water fell on the ground. I still got a whole bucket full of water. Same thing he's saying, that and are counted as the small dust of the balance. The balance don't move when dust is on it. It doesn't move. That's what he's saying. It's nothing. It's like it's nothing. And are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. What that means, he take up the isles, that means his space on the earth, it's a very little thing that he's here. It's a very little thing that these other nations are here. The Most High made it very clear. If it wasn't for us, it'd be no sun and no moon. It'd be no stars. It'd be no earth. Nobody on the earth would be alive if those elements or those ordinances that the Most High created were gone. So he said, behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. Verse 16, and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn. So if you take the whole country of Lebanon and you burn it as a sacrifice unto the Lord, it wouldn't matter. Then he goes and said, nor the beasts thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. Meaning if you burn every animal in Lebanon, along with the land of Lebanon, it still wouldn't matter if you offered it to me as a sacrifice. I don't want it. Verse 17, all nations before him. So we know we ain't talking about the Israelites because this is coming from Isaiah talking to the Israelites. He's talking about the other 16 nations that are on the earth. So he said all nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing. Vanity. Anything and everything that they do on the earth means nothing to him. Do you know what less than nothing is? You can't even compute less than nothing. Nothing is already nothing. Less than nothing, that's a negative nothing. So the Most High is telling you this, then why in the world are you running around here trying to save everybody? He was trying to spare you from getting your feelings hurt. So not only are you going to get your feelings hurt, you're going to die. You're going to die with the same people you're trying to love. They don't give a damn. You know why? Because they already know their fate. They already know their fate, so it doesn't matter. So now we here, and we're going to go and see what the prophet Ezra said about the same thing. So let's go to chapter 6 of the book of Ezra, 2nd Ezra. The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6 and verse 53. Upon the 6th day, thou gavest a commandment unto the earth. So on the 6th day, the Most High gave a commandment on the earth. Then he said, unto the earth, that before thee shall bring forth beasts, cattle, and creepy things. So this is what Adam was given. Okay? He was the Lord over everything on the earth at this point. And he said, verse 54, and after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all. Meaning everybody on the earth came of Adam. Let's hear what he says. We come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. Now there's a separation. So right here in 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, he said that all the people came from Adam. And then he says, and the people who the Lord chose. So there's a separation right there from all the nations and the Israelites. Verse 55, all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. So when he said our, he's speaking to the Lord. He's speaking to, this is a possession between you and I, from the Lord to you. He made the world for the Israelites' sake. As for the other people, verse 56. See, this is why those in Christianity don't want, they don't want to read out of the Apocrypha. They don't want the King James 16:11. They don't want that because this truth is in here and they hate it. They want everybody to believe the way that they took the New Testament and try to twist it. But they cut themselves even in the New Testament, because we read in Matthew 18, verse 16, 15 through on down, that Christ made it very clear that if this brother did not agree with the three brothers that tried to speak to him before, well, first the brother that he was talking to, then the three brothers that tried to also tell him the same thing that the brother was saying, then the whole church, and which they didn't want to believe that either. Then you turn around and he tells them, then you cut him off as if he was a heathen or a publican, meaning a tax collector for Rome. So ain't nothing changed in the New Testament either. So right here in verse 55, 55, and he said, all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle. Now, where did Ezra get this when he said that they are nothing? He got it from the book of Malachi, from the prophet Malachi, in chapter 1. So as we read through the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation, the prophets only repeated what each other was saying in the lifetimes that were before them, in the lifetimes that when they were alive in the same time frame, and in the time that came after them. So Ezra, which is Ezra, this is the same person, is saying in verse 56, verse 66, as for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, like spit that fly out of your mouth when you're talking, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. This is the same thing we read in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 15. Precept must be upon precept. Ain't nothing changed. So I'm telling you this. There's no need to continue to go back and forth with these apologists. No need to go back and forth with these traditional Christianity individuals or these Israelites that believe that for everybody, that the Messiah came for everybody. Because they know these things. And they want to exempt them in order to validate their love for whoever it is. They might have a Becky on their arm or a Bob on their arm or friends or family in their family that they just want to do right by, or that maybe they don't want to get fired from their job or whatever. I don't know the reason behind them doing what they were doing or what they're doing. But don't let them convince you otherwise, because you're going against what the Most High said. We read the scriptures as it is written in the book. You can't twist this. It's very plain and simple. When he said for the other people, that means the people that ain't you. We read James 1:1. He said to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, greetings. So why would he say the 12 tribes scattered abroad, greetings, but that means everybody? That makes no sense. It makes no sense. So with that, let's matter of fact, let me finish that out, because we're going to see why Ezra had this conversation with the Most High in the first place. So now in verse 57, he says, "And now, O Lord, behold, these heathens, which have ever been reputed as nothing," meaning throughout the scriptures you said that they're nothing, "have begun to be lords over us and devour us," meaning that they ruling over us and they killing us left and right. That's what devour means. They giving us their doctrines. They killing us in the streets. They're changing everything that we know better about. "But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for us, made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world?" He's telling you right here, from even during his time, that when the Most High punished us and took everything from us and gave it to the heathens to teach us a lesson, Ezra is saying that when are we going to get our inheritance that you gave us back? When are we going to be punished enough where you will give us our inheritance back? Because the next sentence says, "How long shall this endure?" The Lord, he's saying to the Lord, how long we got to go through this? And I know a lot of you may say the same thing. I've said the same thing. Lord, how long are we going to have to go through this? But the Most High is the ultimate plan maker. He knows what he's doing. And yet we can vent these things and we can say them, but at the same time, we have to be disciplined enough and understand that it don't work when we want it to. It works when he say it's going to happen. So with that, let's go to Malachi chapter 2. Because like we said, this class is God forbid, meaning all the things that the Most High did, are doing, or has done, it's for our own good. So let's go to the book of Malachi chapter 2, and let's start at verse 1. Because see, this right here is what's supposed to happen, but it's not happening. And there's no way and nobody on the earth could ever convince me that you got a preacher that's been in the Bible for 10, 15, 20 years. Some of these preachers been in the scriptures longer than some of you Israelites been alive on the earth. And you think they don't understand or know what this book say? No, they choose not to understand or choose to teach what they teach. They choose that. And they choose it for a reason, because money is their God. So Malachi chapter 2, verse 1. "And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. If ye will not hear, and if ye will not lay it up to heart," meaning lay it up to your mind, "to give glory unto my name, said the Lord of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already, because ye do not lay it to heart, meaning you don't lay it to mind. He cursed the Levitical priesthood already. That's what it's saying. That's what the Most High is saying. He cursed that. That's why we don't deal with the Levites no more when it comes to anything that they were doing. You got these individuals that they run around here talking about, oh, in Christianity, they say so you sacrificing animals or whatever the case may be, or you doing this, or you doing that. If your behinds were reading the New Testament, the Old Testament, you will realize that Christ did away with the Levitical priesthood and when we read Malachi. He did away with that. He did away with it for a more perfect priesthood, which was through Christ. You couldn't convince Christ. He didn't make it a business for sin. That's what the Levites did. They made this a business. Like every Negro out here, all of you try to make everything a hustle. That's what the Leviticus priests, that's what they did. They made sin a hustle. Real simple. What they would do is, you got a sin that you're behind supposed to get killed about. Oh, you pay us this amount, and you give us this offering, and we'll act like that didn't happen. That's what we'll do. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, they all had lots of animals that they have obtained. That equate to money for them. They had everything. So I got all these animals. I got all these doves, all these cows, all these lambs, all these goats. All of these things I have to do frivolous sacrifices for your sins. I got you, bro. Don't worry about it. Oh, you did that? No problem. Here, pay me for this this lamb right here, and I got you. I'll do the sacrifice. Boom, you good with God. That's what they was doing. That's why he had to get rid of that whole system. Because they took the system and made it a business. You wasn't going to do that with Yahweh Shai. You did something that was worthy to death, you was going to be put to death. The whole point of what him dying on the cross was giving you the opportunity to repent. And don't do these things no more. That was the whole point. That's why the Lord said in Hebrews that the blood of bulls, that don't satisfy him no more. But you individuals want to act simple and act like you don't understand that. But this was a heathen couldn't just walk up to a Pharisee and say, hey, I did this wrong, so let me get a cow and you can sacrifice that. Heathens didn't give a doggone about none of that because that didn't pertain to them. This only pertained to the Israelites. They had no idea what sin was. They had no idea because that was never given to them. Law, statutes, and commandments were never given to them. And in order to break a law, for it to be called sin, you had to know what the law was first. So how in the world are you going to forgive a people for something that they never knew what it was in the first place that they did wrong? That's like here you live in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, and there are laws in New York that may not be the same laws in Pennsylvania. Like, for instance, tinted glass. You can have tinted glass in Pennsylvania. You can't have tinted glass in New Jersey. So a person that lived in Pennsylvania all their life, one day decide to drive to New Jersey. And they get pulled over by the police. And the police say to them, oh, you got tinted glass. Well, in Pennsylvania, you can have tinted glass. In New Jersey, you can't. Now, that police officer, he can say to you, he could judge you at that point and say, and still give you a ticket. Just because in the land you live in and what you know and what you grew up with and you knew the law or what the law is, mean you go into another land that's ruled by another group of people or another government that got different laws than the laws that you grew up in, doesn't automatically exempt you from what the law is in the land that you're in now. So the Most High gave all the Israelites laws that was passed from generation to generation. And the heathen had laws that they had that they either make up in their government or whatever the case may be, that the people the people kept. Just like we were not privy to their laws and had to learn it because we were under their rulership, they were never privy to our laws because the Most High never gave it to them. And there's no one out there that can prove that the Most High gave the other nations our laws as a whole. He never did that. Anything the nations learn, they learn from being our servants. The Most High didn't sit down the whole world and gave them the law, statutes, and commandments. So let's finish up in Malachi chapter 2. And it says, and now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. Verse 2. If ye will not hear, and if ye will not lay it to heart, to give glory unto my name, said the Lord of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already, because ye do not lay it to heart. So in the first verse, when it says, and now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. Meaning this is a commandment for them not to practice the priesthood anymore. This wasn't a suggestion. This was a commandment. So verse 3, behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread dung upon your faces. I mean, dung is feces upon your faces, and even the dung of your solemn feasts, meaning everything you bring before me, you Levites, I'm going to put feces on it. And one shall take you away with it. Verse 4. And ye shall know that I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi, said the Lord of hosts. Now he's being specific. So now you see that what I'm saying ain't just a bunch of malarkey. Verse 5. My covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me and was afraid before my name. Because there was a time when the Levitical priests, they feared the Lord. They feared him. It was a time during the time that sons of Aaron and Moses, they feared the Lord. They did what he said. They didn't pervert his word. But over time, and men getting greedy, and men wanting more and more and more from the other nations, they was willing to sell their people out to do it. That's why the Lord said if it wasn't no fault with the first covenant, there'd be no need for me to make another covenant. So verse 5, my covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me and was afraid before my name. Verse 6, The law of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips, meaning that sin wasn't found in his lips. That's what the priesthood used to be. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from iniquity, meaning that the priesthood back then turned a lot of Israelites from sin. Verse 7, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they shall seek the law at his mouth. Meaning that's what's supposed to come out of the priest's mouth all the time, is the law. That didn't happen. For he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. So, and the scriptures say that he's a messenger for the Lord of hosts, meaning you will speak as the Lord would speak. That didn't happen. But ye are departed out of the way. Ye have caused many to stumble at the law. The Pharisees caused many to stumble at the law. The Sadducees caused many to stumble at the law. Baptist preachers caused many to stumble at the law. Presbyterian preachers caused many to stumble at the law. Methodist preachers, African Methodist preachers, United Methodist preachers, Catholic preachers, whoever it is, all your made-up, man-made religions cause many to stumble at the law. You know how? Because you don't teach the law. You hate the law. You hate the law. And because you hate the law, you hate God. You hate the Most High. So right here, verse 9 of Malachi chapter 2, verse 9. Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all the people. Meaning that I don't need you no more. You just like everybody else now, all the rest of the Israelites. I can't hold you at high regard like you were before when you were the sons of Levi. I can't put you there no more because you done took my word and you made it a hustle. Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all the people, according as ye have not kept my ways, but have been partial in the law. Meaning you out there and you teaching everybody that the law say this, the Lord say this, whatever, so on and so forth, and wasn't doing it, number one, and wasn't persecuting the ones or judging them that were not doing what they supposed to do. You wasn't giving them the right judgment. You were allowing yourself to be paid off. That's why right now today you got homosexuals in the churches. That's why you got choir directors and that's flaming gay men. That's why you got preachers marrying same sex. Because everything the Lord say don't do, they do. Then they convince you that it's okay. That's the reason why you want to go to that church. You want to go to that church because they allow you to do your sin and be comfortable and worship the Lord. Let me tell you something. You ain't worshiping the Lord. You worshiping the devil. Because ain't nothing unrighteous about the Lord. And he said he changed not. And you individuals that think that way, when you read the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 25, it tells you that the same thing he said in Leviticus, that man cannot lay with mankind as you do womankind. He said the same thing in the book of Romans. But y'all Act like that's not even true. That didn't even happen. He didn't say that. Or you just use your black magic marker and cross that out. As if it's not happening. You think you're going to change the Most High to accept your sin? You're going to get yourself killed. I'm telling you straight up and down. You are going to die. We're not going to sit up here and give you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you better hear. Either you do it or you don't. If you do it and you keep these commandments, you will live. You don't do it, you are going to die. Period. And nobody can save you out of his hand. So now verse 10 in Malachi chapter 2. Have we not all one Father? Is that the question? We all have one Father, the Most High. Have not one God created us? The answer is yes. Why do we deal treacherously, every man against his brother, by profaning the covenant of our fathers? The Most High made that covenant with our forefathers, and we take it upon ourselves thinking that we're going to change the Lord so that now we could be gay and sword fight with one another. And the Lord going to accept us. Or we can hump and bump with each other, rubbing like whatever. Ain't nothing going in. Or you could do that. You could do that too. Or you could change yourself from a man to a woman. Or a woman to a man. You could do that too. It's a church for everybody. You know what? What's his name? T.D. Snakes said the same thing. He said there's a church for whatever floats your boat. Worship the Lord. You keep on believing that, you're going to die. Ain't but one Most High power, and on but one Yahweh Shai. And they don't change for nobody. You either going to keep the commandments and live, or don't keep them and die. So with that, let's go to stay in the book of Malachi. Let's shoot over to chapter 4. The book of Malachi chapter 4, and let's get verse 4. The book of Malachi, chapter 4 and verse 4. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. The statutes and the judgments. That's important, because anybody could give you a bunch of rules. The commandments is a bunch of rules. The statutes is how you're supposed to conduct yourself. And the judgment is when you break the rules, what's going to happen to you. So if I give everybody a bunch of rules, or you give your kids a bunch of rules, and there's no judgment behind the rules, what's there to stop your kids from doing whatever the rule was that you gave them? Nothing. The judgments is what stop you from breaking the rules. So here in verse 4, when he said, remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I command unto him in Horeb, for all Israel, with the statutes of judgments. Now, ain't nowhere in this verse do I see all nations. I don't see that nowhere. I see all Israel with the statutes and judgments. Verse 5, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. So when it says, I'll send you Elijah the prophet, did we not understand that Elijah came in the New Testament? When Christ was talking to the disciples, there's when they realized that Elijah come already, because Christ told them. And they understood that Elijah was John the Baptist. So guess what? That part already happened. So when it says, behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. So the great and dreadful day of the Lord is not just like something that just happened one time. The great and dreadful day of the Lord has been happening over a series of time. 70 AD. Our slavery. What's going on with us right now? All of that is part of that time. But now when he comes to destroy these kingdoms on the earth, that's going to be the dreadful day. Because everybody going to meet the Most High power. Everybody going to meet Christ. And then after they get over the culture shock that Christ is black, once you get over that, you're going to be flamed on like Johnny Blaze anyway. So now, verse 5 again. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Verse 6. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Did he not do that already? He smite the earth with a curse. That's how we ended up on them slave ships. So Elijah's job was to try to show us the way. Christ came and was teaching us that we got to keep the commandments. That's the only way we're going to get to the Father. That's the only way we're going to get to the kingdom. He didn't teach all nations that. He taught us. So when these individuals try to say, God so loved the world, John 3:16, but yet they don't read John 1. They completely omit that. The conversation was between two Jews. They completely omit the fact that in John chapter 3, verse 1, that conversation was between two Israelites. Christ. Let's get it. I don't want you to take my word for it. I like to prove all things. So here in John chapter 3, verse 1, there was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Jesus by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher come from God. For no man can do these miracles, and thou doest except God be with him. So this conversation was between Christ and Nicodemus, two Jews. So now we get down to verse 16, and all of a sudden it's talking about everybody. The conversation is about everybody. Because everybody see, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Well, let's stay in the New Testament. Let's go to James chapter 4, verse 4. Let's see what that say. The same person in James 1. The same man that said to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, greetings. All of a sudden, it's turned to everybody. Let's start at James chapter 1. So the book of James chapter 1, verse 1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings, my brethren. You understand that? Now, same book, let's go to chapter 4. Because if John 3:16 is talking about the whole world, then this will be a contradiction. The book of James, chapter 4 and verse 4. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? So the friendship of the world is hatred with the Lord. And it don't stop there. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. So how are you love the world in John chapter 3 verse 16, but in James chapter 4, God said if you love the world, you hate him. So somebody in their doctrine is lying, and it ain't this book. It ain't this book. Because what happens is they read John 3:16, they don't read John 3:14. They doggone sure don't read John 1, John 3 chapter 3 verse 1. They don't read John chapter 3 verse 14. Because that history did not happen to the whole world. That history happened to the Israelites. John 3:15, that did not happen to the whole world. That happened to the Israelites. And John 3:16 is saying the same thing that the prophet Isaiah is saying. Let's get it. The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, and let's read verse 16 and 17. They shall be ashamed and also confounded, all of them. They shall go to confusion together that are makers of idols. Who did that? The northern kingdom. The northern kingdom did it, and then came the southern kingdom and they sinned. The northern kingdom made the golden calves, and then the southern kingdom just doing whatever they wanted to do and sinning before the Lord. Verse 17, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord with the everlasting salvation. Well, the last time I checked, it was only one salvation. And the Lord just said that Israel, which is a people, not a place, shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Next sentence, ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. So the world without end is the Israelites. He's saying the same thing in John chapter 3, verse 16. Because see, when everybody think about the world, we already proved that he ain't talking about the whole world. If I was watching TV or I wanted to go to watch dolphins or orcas jump out of the water, I'm not going to go to the Bronx Zoo to see that happen. I'm going to go to SeaWorld. Because at SeaWorld, I'm not going to see lions doing water ballet. I'm going to see animals of the sea doing whatever it is they've been trained to do. Because at SeaWorld is animals of the sea. if I go to the worldwide of sports, I'm not going to go to the worldwide of sports and see them cooking cakes or making a barbecue. At the worldwide of sports, they're going to be playing sports. And they're going to be talking about things pertaining to sports. So why is it all of a sudden everybody get a brain cramp and think that this means for everybody? All throughout the scriptures contradict everything that they try to teach you in Christianity. And the Lord is not mocked. So let's go to Isaiah. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah. Go back to the book of Isaiah. Let's get chapter 60. Get chapter 60 in the book of Isaiah. And let's start at verse 10. The book of Isaiah, chapter 60 and verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So the Lord said right here, the strangers, which means other nations, they're going to be the ones that's teaching you, because that's what happened. Your Joel Osteens, whatever that other lady name is, all those preachers that's making all this prosperity doctrine, they all went to their theologic schools or whatever to go learn the book. Well, they didn't learn the book. They learned how to teach you to get the money out of your pockets. That's what they do. And they use the word of the Lord to do it. So when they do that, and you confront them about what the Bible say compared to what they teaching the people, you notice that everything that the Lord said in the beginning, they got an answer for it that they try to give to say that, well, you don't have to do that anymore. If they say that the Lord give thanks to all the food that you eat, right? That the dietary laws are no more in effect. So that means that Mr. Preacher Man that's teaching the whole congregation, I volunteer. Obadiah Israel volunteers to bring to your church blowfish, and I want to serve it to the whole congregation. The blowfish are poisonous fish. One of them can kill like 20 people. So I'm going to bring that to your congregation, and I'm going to donate it to all the people, and I'm going to put it on your plate. And I want y'all to say the prayers like you've been saying, since the Lord bless all food and nothing is unclean to the Lord. Go ahead and eat up. And let's see what happens. Because if you say that you saying your prayers over the food, cleanse the food, then nothing should happen to you when you eat that poisonous fish. Nothing should happen to you. If I give you rotten meat, all you got to do is pray over it, and you're going to be good. Nothing is refused of the Lord. Nothing is refused. So that means that you can just say your prayers and you can eat it. If I give you rattlesnake with the poisonous glands still in it, nice and cooked up, you can say your prayers and you can eat it. Everything is still good. Because you said nothing is to be refused by the Lord. Everything is clean. As long as you say your prayers. So if you believe that to be true, then go ahead and do it. But we already know what they're going to say in Christianity. They're going to say, you can't, you can't tempt the Lord. That ain't tempting the Lord. You said everything could be received with thanksgiving by saying your prayers over the food. So say the prayers and eat it. Let's see what happens. Let's see if you survive. I'm gonna make sure I videotape it while you over there dying of the poison from that blowfish, and I'm gonna play it back for you. I guess that's what they did over there in Guyana. When they drank that special Kool-Aid, they said prayers before they drank that special Kool-Aid, and they received it with thanksgiving too. And next thing you know, 900 people was dead. But all things are received with thanksgiving. Man, get out of here with that craziness. Ain't nothing the Lord changed. Why you think Peter said that I never ate anything unclean in my life? It had nothing to do with the parable had nothing to do with food, but the fact that he's saying he never ate anything unclean. It was talking about a man, number one, Cornelius, who was of the 10 tribes, who was of the northern kingdom. The southern tribes called the northern kingdom, or the southern kingdom called the northern kingdom unclean. Because they were into idolatry and in it heavy. That's why. But the fact that Peter said that he never ate anything unclean, meaning that was in the New Testament, and he's telling you he never ate anything that was unclean. So it had nothing to do about food, but at the same time, he's telling you that whatever was said in Leviticus and Deuteronomy chapter 14 still applied in the New Testament when they were on this earth. So now, verse 10 again in Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 10, and it says, and the sons of strangers, meaning the sons of other nations, shall build up thy walls, which they did. Who you think is over there in the land of Canaan right now? That they turned the name into Israel and took the land. And their kings shall minister unto thee. Because everything they say, we believe. Where you think our people got that you can have whatever, you can do whatever? They got it from them. For in my wrath I smote thee. Smote means they hit you very hard. The Lord hit us real hard with 70 AD. He hit us real hard with that slavery. He hit us real hard while people getting shot down in the street. He hit us real hard with all of these things. Why? Because we ain't learned yet. It is so easy just to keep the commandments of the Most High and do right. You think that you got to run around here and hate everybody on the planet? No, he just told you to do what I said. The other nations, they're going to be dealt with. They're going to be dealt with, but you just do what it is that I want you to do, period. Those instructions were given to us. It wasn't given to everybody else. And to make it real clear, see, you understanding that an Israelite is not a religion. It's a nationality of people. You're not African American because those are two continents. You already know that, most of you. Israel means that you come from Jacob. Light means that you're the people of Jacob. It's not a religion. So that's what makes you an Israelite. So with that being said, the Israelites were given rules by the Most High, and we to keep them, period. He didn't give them to other nations. He gave them to us. But by default, when the Lord's kingdom do come, on the earth as it is in heaven, like we read in the prayer, the other nations, they ain't got to do nothing to get in the kingdom, which they're going to be servants working, but they ain't got to do nothing to get there. But you, on the other hand, you got to do work. And the work you got to do is keep these commandments. To rule over those heathens that's going to be in the kingdom, that's going to get there by default. They ain't got to do nothing good or bad because they was never given the rules to do something good or bad. They going in for one thing and one thing only, to work. That's it. That's what they're going for, to do work. You going there to finally be completely clear of all the drama that we ever experienced in our lives from generations all the way back to the time of King David and King Solomon. So with that, let's go to Revelations chapter 2. The book of Revelations chapter 2. The last book of the Bible. The book of Revelations chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 25. The book of Revelations chapter 2 and verse 25. But that which ye have already hold fast till I come, meaning Christ said, you hold fast, you do what I say, keep the commandments till I come. Verse 26, and he that overcometh and keepeth my word unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. So let me ask you a simple question. If everybody is for the Messiah, if the Messiah came for everybody, why would he be giving us the power over the nations? Everybody would be in one big group. So we're in the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, and the Messiah said, real simple, but that which ye have already hold fast till I come, and he that overcometh mean that you keep the commandments despite of what's going on in the world. In the Bible, if you got the Bible and this is in red letters, it's showing you this is Christ speaking. And he said, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end. So what is works? You got to do something for it to be works. You got to do something the doing is the commandments. Keep of my works. So you think Christ was put on the cross, all of a sudden he got no color anyway. All of a sudden he got no color. Because when you prove that in the Bible that Christ is a black man, now he's no color. So who they put up on the cross? The Romans surely nailed a man to the cross. And he had to be of some nationality, but all of a sudden now he got no color. Y'all people crazy. You hate yourself so much that you don't even want the Messiah to be what you are, the same as you. It can't be, because this man is the pure blood. And no, we can't have no nigga man for Christ. That's the way that they see it. That's how much they hate themselves. But Christ is a black man. It don't matter if you don't believe me. You're going to see with your own two eyes. Whether it be when he wake you up out of that grave, or you alive when he come back. You're going to see then. So let's get back to Revelation chapter 2, verse 26. And he that overcome and keepeth my works unto the end, meaning that you got to do what it is that Christ did. Because you know in Christianity they say all you got to do is believe. All you got to believe and have the faith, brother. Christ said, keep on my works, meaning you do what I say. The next part is, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. But yet I thought we was all together. Yet I thought we was all the world. So how do you divide the nations? Is everybody the same? Verse 27. Oh, it gets even better in verse 27. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. So wait a minute. If everybody the same, right? When Christ come back in the kingdom, he's saving everybody. Then why is he saying that he would give us power over the nations and also say that we're going to rule them with a rod of iron? So who we ruling if everybody is the world? If everybody the world, then who are we ruling with a rod of iron? If we all the same people, we all one nation under God. Y'all better get in this book and start reading. Because the Israelites ain't lying to you. We telling you what the book say. It's you that don't want to believe what the book say. Because you love Becky. Or you love Bob. That's got nothing to do with it. See, they enjoying their heaven right now. They're having a great time in it. But let's finish the verse of 27. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken into shivers, even as I receive of my Father. So the Lord said, if they don't do what you say, you're going to break them like pots. Like you break clay pots. And they're going to just be pieces all over the ground. But he's for everybody. He so loved the whole world. So who is getting broke by the rod of iron if he loved the whole world? Who are the other nations if he loved the whole world? And I will give him the morning star, and he that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. What churches he talking about? The churches all throughout Greece, where the Israelites were scattered. That's the churches he's talking about.
Exodus 7 and 4.
What was that, brother?
Exodus 7 and 4.
7 and 4?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and read it.
It says, but Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies, my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments.
So right here, the brother just brought out, but the Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies. So if the whole world belonged to the Lord, then who is my armies? How the Lord got an army if everybody is his? The army of the Lord are the Israelites, because that's getting cleared up right here in the same verse. And my people, possessive pronoun, and my people, the children of Israel. He just said who his people was. He didn't say the whole world were his people. He said that my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgment. That's what he put on the nations. He gave them the business. And when this Exodus come, when he bring us out of this nation and all the other nations that we scattered abroad, it's going to be a great judgment on the nations that did that too. So now let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. The point is this. From beginning to end, no matter what kind of verse you try to come with and try to twist it and however you want to twist it, you're never going to change the fact that the Most High have always been for his people. It's never going to change. The Gentiles in the New Testament are Israelites. Because when we read in Matthew chapter 18 and verse, let me get it real quick. Matthew chapter 18 and verse 17, he said in the bottom part of that precept, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. So if Gentiles were Gentiles like they say, like Christianity try to teach, that Gentiles in the New Testament are Gentiles, the same Gentiles like we read in Genesis chapter 10, then why didn't he just say, then be like unto the Gentiles and the publicans? Mm-hmm. He said heathen. Because he's making it clear the people that he was talking to were the people that we know are the Gentiles that are Israelites. That was like a derogatory name that we gave them. Since you want to be like the other nations, you're going to be Gentiles. That's real simple. It's easy to prove. You read Hosea chapter 1. You read Isaiah chapter 7. You read 1 Kings chapter 12. All of that saying the same thing, that he cut them off from being a people. If the Lord cuts you off from being in the crew, then you ain't part of the crew no more.
Right.
That don't change your bloodline. Just because you've been put out of the club don't change who you are. You've been put out of the club because of the drama that you would bring into the club. See, let's break it down like this. I'm gonna make it real simple for the people out there that just don't get it. Okay, we got cereal. We're gonna use cereal. Kellogg's is the brand, right? So in this sense, Kellogg's is Israel, the Israelites. Then you got inside of Kellogg's, Raisin Bran, right? That's one. You got Corn Flakes. You got Fruit Loops. You got Lucky Charms. I don't know all of them, but you get the point. They different products, brand. And let's say Fruit Loops was acting fruity. And we kicked Fruit Loops out of Kellogg's. Kellogg's still own the rights to Fruit Loops, although you got kicked out. But Fruit Loops got kicked out because he was being fruity. So when Fruit Loops get his behind right and start being fruity, then he can come back and be adopted back into Kellogg's. People, that's what we got going on in the New Testament. The 10 tribes that they talking about as lost, they ain't lost. They just been called Gentiles. They got kicked out the brand, which is Israel. So the Lord made provisions to bring them back. We read that in Romans chapter 9. So, leave what you got in Isaiah. Let's go to Romans chapter 9 real quick. If the Bible had a page, you know how you get a novel, you get a book from the bookstore, and you read the back of the book, it kind of pretty much tell you what the book about. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like a summary. Romans 9 is a summary of this book, the Holy Bible. From the rooter to the tutor, from the front to the back, Romans 9 tell you the whole thing. So in the book of Romans 9, let's read it. The book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 1. I say the truth in Christ. This is Paul speaking. I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself was accursed from Christ for my brethren. Paul is saying that I wish I could have died for my brethren like Christ did. Because why is he saying that? Because Christ already died for us on the cross. But here, Negroes still doing the same thing during the time of Paul. He's saying he wish he could do it again for these backwards bird brains running around out here right now. For I, verse 3, wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, oh, here go the good part, according to the flesh. What that mean? That means that they're the same bloodline. Yep. They come from the same forefathers. He said his brethren, his kinsmen, according to the flesh. That ain't outside of your nation. You got these crazy Christianity teachers talking about you get grafted in. You're a spiritual Israelite. Okay, so let me go see if you can go be grafted in the Chinese. Graft yourself and be Chinese. Graft yourself and be Japanese. Graft yourself and be Italian. Let me see you do it. Graft yourself and be that. All of a sudden now you can just, boom. Your nationality is now Italian because you got Italian blood. You did your spiritual blood transfusion and became another nation. Y'all crazy as hell. So let's read verse 3 again. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. Verse 4. There's a problem. Because right here, it was supposed to be everybody in verse 3. Because that was talking about everybody because it's my brethren. Oh, everybody your brother. Okay, check this out. Verse 4. Who are Israelites? Whoa. To whom pertaineth the adoption? So who pertaineth to adoption? The Israelites. The adoption of what? Back into the brand. You being adopted back into the brand. That's what it's saying. And the glory and the covenants. Was there any covenants that the Most High, please, anybody out there, show me the covenants that the Most High made with another nation? Post the scripture. Post it. What the Lord said, Edom or Moab or Ammon or Amalekites or Amalek or Tarshish, I make a covenant with you. You will be in the kingdom. And I'm going to bring you. And you're going to be just like the Israelites. And I'm going to punish them and they're going to go into slavery. Y'all going to get to do it. Then when I save everybody at the same time, it's like they never, nothing that they ever did. They get punished and get to chill out with you, the same people that punished them in the kingdom. And then you people out there that believe that crap, if somebody do something wrong to you at work, you ready to meet them in the parking lot. You ain't ready to be friends with them. They slap the fire out of you at work. Spit on you. Throw feces or urine on you. And slap fire from you. And kick you in your butt. You're going to be ready to fight. You're going to be ready to fight from the first time they did something. You're going to be ready to fight. And every time you see them, you're going to want to fight. But all of a sudden, when they come to the Most High, and all the evil that these people did to his children, oh, we going to be friends. We ain't going to meet in the parking lot. All of a sudden, that's what happens. Then y'all better start using your minds. So let's finish this up. Verse 4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption? The Israelites pertain to adoption, and the glory, and the covenants. The covenants is only made with the Israelites. and the giving of the laws are only given to the Israelites, and the service of God was only given to the Israelites, and the promises is only given to the Israelites. Whose are the fathers of whom, as concerning the flesh, meaning that you are the same bloodline, Christ came. That means he only came for the Israelites. Ain't no way around that for y'all that believe that he's here for everybody. Ain't no way around it. There's no way around it. So, it's okay for you to believe whatever you want to believe. That's fine. But that don't change the truth. It never will change the truth. And no matter how much you try to think it, it ain't going to change. It's going to stay the same. The Lord made it real clear. Let's get it in Matthew chapter 6 real quick. Matthew chapter 6. And let me read, let's read verse 9. Start at 9. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye. Our Father, which art in heaven, mean rest in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, mean holy is your name. Thy kingdom come, meaning your kingdom, Lord, is coming. Thy will be done, meaning the will of God will be done when your kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So the heavens is completely righteous. Ain't no sin in the heavens. See, even the angels that the Lord got on his left side keep the commandments. They do their job, but they don't got no sin. Because the Lord can't be around sin. That's what y'all got to understand. So even the angels that do the Lord bidding for all the evil stuff, they don't sin. Guess who else don't? Satan. He don't sin because in order to be in the presence of the Lord, you can't sin. He make you or convince you to do things that you do. But Satan even keep the commandments of the Lord. We learn that in Job chapter 1. What did Satan say to the Lord? The Lord asked him where was he coming from? And he said, to and fro throughout the earth, seeking what I can devour. He told the truth, what he was doing. Then the Lord said, did you consider my servant Job? Satan said, how can I? You got a hedge about him, meaning you got your glory surrounding him. Then the Lord said, you know what? You could touch. I know he's going to be truthful to me. You can touch all he got. You just don't touch him. Don't touch his life. Last time I checked, that was a commandment. Because if I could tell you that you could do something, but don't do something, that is called a rule. That's called a commandment. And that's what he gave Satan. A commandment. And he did everything that the Lord said he could do. But he ain't touch him. He got sick. He had a bunch of stuff wrong with him, but he was still alive, wasn't he? See, y'all got to understand that thing. The Lord can't have no sin around him. That's why we was in the wilderness. And that's why we're going to be in the wilderness again. But this time, instead of being taught by Moses, who y'all want to talk back to back then, and always got something to say. This time we're going to be in the wilderness with Christ. Open your mouth then. Open your mouth then. I guarantee you won't be opening that mouth no more. I guarantee you. Because Christ and Moses is two different type of people. See, Moses, and like in the scriptures say, that he was meek. Christ is austere. That is one end of one element to another. You understand? Austere means you don't play. You say something crazy you want to in the wilderness. If you do make it that far, you're going to be put to death if you open your mouth to the Messiah. And it's going to be quick. Your head be flipping through the sky. You might put the Jinsu knife, chop on you. And all bunch of pieces of you just be flying everywhere. If that don't get everybody else's attention, then you're going to be joining with them. Chop suey too. You think this is a game? This ain't no game. You keep on dealing and listening to these people that's telling you a bunch of bad information. And the reason why you listen to this nonsense is because it's some sin that you love doing. And in order for you to feel right about the sin that you're doing, you got to be around other people that agree to the sin that you're doing. That's why you do it. That's why you put yourself and try to convince yourself that this is what it is. That's why it's so important to read out the book exactly what the words say. So now let's finish up in verse 10. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. That's what it is. That's what it is. The heavens is coming to the earth. The Lord's will is going to be done. His will is the law. And from that point, we are going to be keeping the commandments. We're going to know the commandments because we're going to be taught by the Most High Priest, which is the Messiah, the Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. And he's going to be preparing us to get us right so that we can dwell among the Father. That's the whole reason why he's doing what he's doing. Because for us to be amongst the Father, we got to be sinless in every way. Not one drop of sin with us at all. We have to be sinless. If you didn't, I'll do that in another class to show you that the Most High have good angels on his right and not so good angels on the left. But they all keep the commandments and they all counsel with the Most High. But the fact is, not only they keep the commandments and they do what the Lord say, they do what. That's why the Lord said, He created angels for vengeance, and He created some of the messengers, whatever the case may be. That's what He did. But they all obey Him. That's the whole point. They don't, and they love doing what He say. They love it. If He tell them, listen. The Lord say to the angel to go do such and such. The angels, they don't give the Lord no lip. They just go do it. I'm going to do a class on just that alone. Showing you how obedient the angels of the Lord are. and why they love to do it. Whether their job is to kill a whole bunch of people or the job is to give you a message. They all have a function and they love to do it. And we got to be able to do the same thing. You either going to love the Lord and do what he say, or don't love the Lord and keep doing what you're doing and think because he ain't come and visit you yet. Don't think that it got to be you that he come visit. It could be your children. It could be your children. So stop playing with him and do what he say. So now let's go into the book of Joel. But before I get that, let's go to Psalms 119. Psalms 147. Let's go to Psalms 147. And then we're going to go back to Romans 9. Because the Lord, like I said, he just keep letting us know. And for some reason, it just be flying over people's head. Psalms chapter 147 and verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. Jacob is the forefather of the 12 tribes. Israel is the children. He have not dealt so with any nation. He have not dealt so with any nation. And as far as his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So you're wondering why what they're doing, they don't get paid for it. They don't know the Lord's judgment. When he take care of them, trust me, that's why he said vengeance is mine. He gonna take care of them. But far as the sin, when the sin come, they don't care about that. Because they was never given the rules, so it doesn't matter. The things that are happening to us won't happen to them. You can't see that right now today. You're the one that's getting shot down in the street, not him. You're the one running around here, you know, what the ailments and everything else because we ate certain foods or whatever, and we paid the price. Not them. You're the one that's subject to certain things and not them. You're the one that excel in the sports by the drones, not them. You always, you're talking about that we all the same. We bleed red. Well, guess what? If I go shoot a deer, he bleed red too. Am I the same as a deer? An elephant bleed red too. Am I the same as an elephant? Alligators got blood that's red too. Am I alligator? Because we got the same red blood? Stop with your foolishness. Let's go back to Romans 9. Let's see what the Lord say. So he gave his word to Jacob, his laws and his statutes unto Israel. He have not dealt with no other nation. He have not dealt with no other nation. So now let's go. Let's come on down. Because we remember we read in the beginning of the class, Malachi chapter 1 about Jacob and Esau. So now we're going to see and we're going to hear as we continue to read. Let's jump down to verse 10. Because this is what matter of fact, let me go up to 9. So then it says, Romans chapter 9, verse 9. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac. For the children, verse 11, this is very important. For the children, being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, meaning that who he chose. They didn't do anything good or bad to get chose. It's who he chose. Not of works, meaning ain't nothing got nothing to do with what they did or didn't do, but of him that calleth, meaning that who he called upon. He called upon Jacob. That's who he chose. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Why would this be repeated in the New Testament? What was said in the Old Testament if it wasn't relevant today?
Because it didn't change.
Because it didn't change. What shall we say then? This is my favorite part right here. This is the whole purpose of this class. Verse 14 again. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? So, what is being said is because the Lord loved Jacob and hate Esau, because the Lord chose Jacob and nobody else, is there unrighteousness with God because he did that? Is it fair? That's what that question is asking. Is it fair that the Lord chose a people? Let's see what the Lord say. God forbid. That means no. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then, is it not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy? For the scripture said unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up. So right here what he's saying is, just as for the same reason I raised up the Pharaoh, so I can destroy him, is the same reason I'm raising up Esau, so I can destroy him too. But let's let the Lord say it. Verse 17. For the scripture said unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Period. It's real simple. Did the Lord change anything? No, he ain't changed nothing. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13. Let's see what the Lord said. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 9. This is Christ speaking now. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that letteth into captivity shall go into captivity. So my question to all you nation-loving individuals, save everybody individuals, who did Negroes, the native Indians, and the native of the Latino lands lead into captivity? Who? What nation of people did we lead into captivity? Who? Who did we ever lead into captivity? So verse 10 again. He that letteth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Meaning that those that keep the commandments and you be patient, like the Lord said in Revelation chapter 2, he's going to give us our retribution for what was done unto us. So with that, let's go to Joel chapter 3. Chapter 2. Joel chapter 2. Because like I said, everybody, they like to bring out their opinion. But when them facts start rolling, there ain't no debating no facts. Joel chapter 2, we're going to start at verse 26. And ye shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, that hath dealt wondrously with you. And my people shall never be ashamed, and ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. Meaning that he's going to be around us, in the midst of us. And that I am the Lord your God and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. So, just show me any scripture that says that the Lord now is the God to everybody. He said that he's the Lord of the Israelites and nobody else. So show us where he said that he is now the Lord of everybody, the God of everybody. We read in the New Testament, same thing we read in the Old Testament is in the New. Ain't nothing changed. The Lord's saying the same thing. Christ said that he only came for the lost sheep in the house of Israel. In Luke chapter 1, he said that he raised up a branch, which was Christ, for the Israelites, to save them for all that hate us. That's what he said. In Acts chapter 5, he said that he came forth to bring repentance unto Israel. No other nation is nowhere in there. But yet, we running around here trying to help everybody, and you can't even help your doggone self, nor your people. So we're about to close out. Well, let me run to Romans chapter 11. The book of Romans chapter 11, and I'm going to start at verse 5. Even so, then at this present time also, there is a remnant according to the election of grace. This is very important that you're about to hear right now. So once again, I'm going to start it. Verse 5, Romans chapter 11. Even so then, at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. Now, what did I just say just now? That was real simple. The Bible is telling you in the scriptures that if you don't do the works, then grace is not grace. If you think that you can just have faith and don't do no works, then grace is non-existence. In order to have the grace, you got to do the works. That's what the scripture's telling you. So let's read verse 6 again. And if by grace, then is it no more of works, otherwise grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then is it no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it, and the rest were blind? According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day. And David said, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and recompense unto them. The only way we're going to get it, people, we got to do the works. We do the works. That's why we got the grace. To give us time to figure out, wait a minute. That's what it is. The Lord gave us grace because we're going to figure out that we got to keep the commandments, because we may have done sin that we didn't know was unto death. So now that we know, I ain't doing that no more. I'm going to keep the commandments. You gave me mercy, the grace that you did, that you didn't kill me when I was sinning, when I didn't realize that's what I was doing. Now that I know, I'm not going to sin no more. That's what grace is. Now that we have it, it teaches us the elect that he chose out of a bloodline, which is the people, the Israelites, keep the commandments, and we live. Bottom line. But let's jump up to verse 1, and we can close out. Romans chapter 11, verse 1. I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. The Lord will never cast away his people. Because the reason why we know that we still his a nation is when we go to the book of Jeremiah, which is one of the most beautiful scriptures. And I mean, it should really motivate you when you hear it. Because the only reason why everybody on the earth is alive is because of you. If you really realize how important you are on the earth, it'd be no life if it wasn't for us, the children of Israel. So let's go to Jeremiah chapter 31. And I want you to go down to verse 35. The book of Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 35. Thus said the Lord, which giveth the sun for light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divided the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Forever. The seed of Israel, his people, will cease from being a nation forever. The Lord still recognizes us as a nation that's on to him. He gave us the grace for us to get ourselves right. Us, nobody else. Now, let's show the Lord that we can do this by keeping the commandments. So in closing, let's go to the book of Baruch, chapter 4. And I'm going to read verse 3. The book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 3. Give not thy honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee. Don't give these strangers of these other nations the profit of them being something that they're not, because they ain't you. Stop worrying about what and who and trying to keep them or save them or whatever the case may be. Take care of you and your people first. Don't worry about what they got and how they doing it. The prophet gave us some good words when he said, give not thine honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation. We are the Israelites, and we will keep the commandments. And the Most High is our God. And that's the bottom line. And with that, we say shalom.
Shalom.